Welcome. If you will please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remove your hats. Thank you.
Move your hat, honey.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Rowe.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Present.
Councilman Racy.
Here.
Councilman Porter.
Here.
Councilman Gabriel.
Present.
Councilman Webster.
Here.
Mayor, you do have a quorum with all 7 members present.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry, all 6. Thank you. Used to saying 7.
I'm 7.
All right. The first item of business is the administration of oath, and this will be to Firefighter Kevin Petrosinski. So, Kevin, you would like to come forward?
Hey.
Raise your right hand. I, Kevin M. Petrosinski, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will perform my duties
and that I will perform my duties
as a firefighter
as a firefighter
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
There you go. All right.
Congratulations.
So we'll have you sign there, and then we'll do some pictures. Right? Thank you. All right. And we have both chiefs, if you want to come forward. Oh.
Well, we got
Okay.
the whole clan.
I'll do the chiefs first, and then we'll do the whole bit. Okay. So if you want to come here, and then we'll
Watch the cord.
Either side, just watch the cord.
Yeah, watch the cord.
You want to step maybe forward a little bit, just so we don't get this in the picture. So, right? Well, you just. All right. Will that work? All right. Thank you. Thank you. Right. All right. Okay. And then we've got the rest of the team here. So we're gonna, well,
Gee, I take some pictures on it.
we'll do a, maybe we'll do a 2 rows possibly.
Oh, yeah, do you take a
Or
picture?
maybe we'll do
Yeah.
2 rows.
Go ahead.
So,
Hi, Lisa.
How are you? You too. Thank you.
Love you, Lisa. Is that what you said?
She
Wow,
did.
I like that.
so they're all kind of lopsided. Too many on that side.
On your knees.
Yeah.
All right.
So I've got 2 cameras here, so I'm going to
Okay.
take a couple pictures. Okay, ready? There's one.
Missing that guy.
Let me go a little bit. Steve's.
We got to get over.
Very good.
And I do know that your parents, your grandmother's here, so if you'd like to have them come up and we'll get a picture. So, I'll take your phone, actually.
Watch the cord.
Right? Come up.
Watch the cord.
Okay.
Initial title form back today on Volume Center. I haven't looked at it. I just got it like an
It's gotta be that way, Dave. Here. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
It's good because they're not.
Do another one, okay? Right?
Could you introduce for us?
All right, yes.
Yes. Could you
Could you
introduce your
introduce
family?
for us, your family, please?
This is my dad, Dennis Petrosinski. Hello. My grandma, Jean, and my mother, Camille Petrosinski.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Then we're going to move on the agenda. So we're going to go out with the guys in the hall, and then we'll.
Good to see you.
Oh, I don't want to do this. We skip the next one.
Okay. The next item is to approve the agenda.
Gentlemen, if there is no objections, I would like to move item number 7F up to under 3A, under requests.
also, Madam Mayor, may I also add to in approving the agenda is to add us to recognize National Home Ownership Month in the city of Wayne as well.
Move to support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Okay. And then item 2 are city council minutes. Item 2A are the regular meeting minutes of May 15th.
Motion to approve. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Porter, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 2B are the special meeting minutes of May 24th.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by, I believe, Councilman Webster. With your froggy voice, I wasn't sure. Okay. Requests?
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then item 3 are requests. Item 3A is to declare June as Lesbian, Gay, Bi, Questioning, and Transgendered Pride Month in the city of Wayne.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Webster. Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. And item 3B is to declare Homeownership Month in the city of Wayne.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel. Was that by Councilman Porter or Webster?
Councilman Webster.
Webster, Councilman Webster. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the agenda is moving to item 7F, and this is to approve a resolution to enter into a professional service agreement with the firm of Summers Schwartz PC regarding the opioid crisis. And the city attorney, I believe, is going to address council first.
Okay.
Sure. So the city has had the opportunity to meet with a local firm, Summers Schwartz, and Lisa Esser is here from Summers Schwartz. She's an attorney that has been involved in litigation related to the opioid crisis that's affecting really the nation, but in particular the state of Michigan. And Lisa is here to present tonight to give us some insight as to the litigation itself and the opportunity that exists for the city of Wayne to join in on that litigation. I'm going to let her answer the questions because she truly is an expert in this area, but the city manager and myself did have an opportunity to meet with her along with the mayor and, you know, to hear a little bit about it, and we want the council and the public to hear about it and to get any questions addressed that they may have relative to the litigation and the opportunity for the city of Wayne to join the litigation. You may have seen, you know, in the news that there are plenty of other municipalities, townships, locally, counties, here in Southeast Michigan that have taken the opportunity to join in this type of litigation, and Lisa's going to explain to us what her firm is doing with regard to the litigation and the opportunity that we have. Okay. Lisa?
Madam Mayor, do we need a motion for discussion or first wait?
It's a presentation, so I don't think so.
Wait. Okay.
Although if we want to move on an action afterward, that would be appropriate. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Attorney O'Leary, Mayor, City Manager. We've met all previously, and council members and the clerk for allowing me to be here today and taking some of your time. I'll try to be as brief as possible and answer your questions to the best of my ability. My name is Lisa Esser. I'm an attorney with Summers Schwartz. We're a large litigation firm in the Southfield, Michigan. We have over 40 attorneys. We do everything litigation, class actions, mass torts. We are involved in the opioid litigation. We have teamed up with 6 national firms, some of the biggest mass tort firms in this country. This is the next big tobacco, so it's going to take a lot of attorneys with specialized expertise and a lot of money to go all the way. So in Michigan, we currently represent Canton Township, Northville Township, Romulus signed on last night, Clinton Township, Livonia, and Eaton County. We've taken our particular effort with the Western Wayne communities to try to get everyone on board in one big complaint so you're all together. It's important that you all have your individual representations and not just go with the county, because if there is a successful recovery, that money will funnel down to the city itself instead of it going to the county and them delegating if you get the money and where you can put the money, okay? We saw this in big tobacco a lot of years ago where the state kind of took over. It went into the general fund and the counties and cities saw nothing. So we're approaching it a little differently this time around. So in terms of the opioid epidemic in Michigan, I'll be very brief, but Michigan is 10th nationwide. Particularly, the city of Wayne is the 10th leading municipality in terms of your death rate in Michigan. Out of all cities, townships, everything, Wayne is 10th. There were 745 million doses of opioids prescribed last year. We outpaced the nation. There are more opioid prescriptions than we have citizens. Every man, woman, child, baby in the state of Michigan can have their own 84-pill bottle each year. That's how much is coming into the state of Michigan. That's been coming in for over a decade. So the litigation is geared towards both the opioid manufacturers and the opioid distributors. So the distributors I'll take first. We're talking about McKesson, Cardinal Health, AmerisourceBergen. They have 85% of the market. There are over 800 nationwide. They make $100 billion in profits each year. They're Fortune 500 companies, some Fortune 500 companies. In 1970, the Controlled Substances Act was put into place, basically in exchange for getting their ticket to make a bunch of money selling opioids. The federal government said, we're going to give you this ticket, but you have to police the flow of opioids into our state. That is, you have to have systems in place to alert you to suspicious orders, abnormally high pill counts, and you have to report this to the DEA. What we found is, A, they didn't have anything in place to alert them to suspicious orders, and they weren't reporting anything. And this has just been the cost of doing business. For instance, last year in January, February 2017, McKesson was fined $150 million for literally not even have the systems in place to comply with the Controlled Substances Act. Their fine, $150, that was 1 week's of profits. So this, again, this is just the cost of doing business. So, as you've seen on the news, on a lot of different fronts, people have gotten together to try to curb what has literally become an epidemic. The litigation piece is just one avenue of that. So what will this do for the city of Wayne? So three things. It can recover past damages for fire, police, Narcan administration, court costs, probation, prosecutors, etc. Future abatement, so you're going to have funds for courts, for police, fire. I think most importantly, rehabilitation services and counseling, because once you're addicted, you're always addicted, and you are going to be fighting that battle for the rest of your life in this community. And three, injunctive relief, stopping the flow of pills in the community. So that's the upside to Wayne if we have a successful recovery. What's the downside? I don't see one. We're approaching this on a contingent basis. That is, we get no fee unless there's a recovery. It's a 30% fee. We front all of the costs of the litigation. At no point will any funds come out of the public funds of this community. We only get reimbursed for our costs and get the fee if there is a successful recovery. So that's the brief overview of the litigation. I'd be happy to field any questions you have.
If I may, Lisa, maybe you just want to explain that the mechanism or the avenue via the resolution that they would be asked to pass,
Sure.
Should they choose to join on the nuisance idea of it.
So what the city council members you would have to pass is just a nuisance resolution declaring the opioid epidemic a nuisance in your city. And I think I've presented some of the stats, and I'm sure if you talk to your police and your firefighters and your prosecutor, they will echo the same sentiments that we've seen across the state. This is truly an epidemic. So on the books in the legislature, if you look at nuisance laws, it has to do a lot of times with farming or building codes or blights. We don't have anything at the state level declaring, obviously, the opioid epidemic a public nuisance, so we require the municipalities on that level to pass a resolution identifying it as such. And we've gotten together, and I think we've come to an agreement on the proposed resolution that would need to be passed.
Okay. Any questions? No?
I got a question.
Yes.
Is there anything that we can do that's stronger than just a nuisance? Because it's more than a nuisance. It's,
Oh, absolutely.
It ticks me off totally because I've lost friends, friends who've lost their kids to this.
So That's a good question. I mean, this is civil litigation, so the only thing we can get in civil litigation is money. We
Right.
can't get an apology. We can't send anybody to jail. That's for the criminal side, right? But there are other avenues that we're taking. We have a lot of legal theories. Public nuisance, I like the best because of our Michigan laws that are in place regarding FDA exemption and such. I won't get into the details of that, but there are other avenues that we're taking, such as RICO, consumer protection, negligence, etc. So there'll be other counts, but you know, this is just a civil litigation, so it will be up to the federal government really to take any criminal action. Unfortunately, I wish I could.
I just wish it could be a stronger word
I know.
to use. It's
This was brought to my attention at a conference of Western Wayne meeting. It started actually in Romulus with Mayor Burkhoff, and then I had met with Lisa shortly after that, and with Brita and the city manager, and we felt that this was something we should step and get on board with. And as Lisa stated, they're trying to get all of the Conference of Western Wayne communities on board with one firm. They feel, you know, the more we have, the stronger our voice can be in moving forward. And I know Northville has come on board. I believe
Northville Township.
Northville Township has recently come on board. I think this would be something that is going to be a win-win for all of us down the road. As you know, our judge in the 29th District Court has a behavioral court that she holds, and it's mainly with opioids and alcohol abuse. And she has them go through a year program, and it is successful, but it's just a tip of the iceberg. And so we need to get a handle on this, because we are losing too many people to this epidemic, and the costs are going up. And you know, I have a personal friend whose son, in the morning he was rushed to Annapolis Hospital, had the Narcan, I believe it's called.
Yep.
Afternoon he was out. Later that evening, again, went to the hospital with the Narcan. It's a insidious disease. It really is. It's truly a very sad epidemic, and just a sad legacy to have on us as a community and a civilization. So with that, if I could have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion declaring that.
Yes.
Maybe could we finish the
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
and the
Could we have a
second,
motion, please?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I'd like to
What?
make
Yeah,
to
yes.
make a motion declaring that the unlawful distribution of prescription-controlled substances has created a public nuisance and a serious public health and safety crisis for the citizens of the city of Wayne.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Yes, Mr. Bukovich.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, are we questioning the motion or using this firm, I guess, because a motion was made. I just want to have my question in the right spot.
It is
not
with
be out of
this
order.
firm.
With this firm. Okay,
yes.
that's my question. Why specifically was this firm chosen? Was there any bidding out, or what's the reason for that?
Do you want to answer that question?
So there are 3 groups in Michigan. Our firm, we have the largest mass torts firms in the country, and most importantly, though, the cases, we represent over 500 municipalities nationwide, over 20 states, over separate 5 AGs. And because of the number of cases that have been filed, it's all been consolidated in what's called a mass tort multi-district litigation. And it's been consolidated in front of a judge in Cleveland in the Northern District of Ohio, just Colster. And what happens when cases are consolidated, the judge has to get together with all of the attorneys nationwide who have filed cases and appoint leadership. And whoever is appointed leadership controls all of the litigation nationwide, whether it's their individual case or not. And if you control litigation, you control settlement and how that process will break down. Our firm, our group, we have the most seats, most leadership positions in the MDL, and we are the only one in Michigan to have a co-chair position. So we will be controlling and dictating a lot of the litigation through this process, and as a result, we'll have firsthand knowledge of what is going on.
Thank you.
That still didn't answer my question. Was it bid out at all, or did
No.
we just assume we just went with this firm?
We went with this firm.
So there
It's
was,
costing us nothing. We're doing this.
well, right now, yes.
It's
Right
not.
now.
It's not.
It will never
cost us anything.
That's what I was about to say, unless there's a recovery. And my problem is I think 30% is a little steep. And that's why I wish they would have.
Yes, why don't you?
Just if I may.
Every firm in the state has the same rate.
Yeah.
We're all charging the same 30%.
So we just from to answer your question, Keith, it's a professional services agreement. So what I did is meeting with Lisa and the city manager and the mayor. I think we all came to a consensus based on the available firms, like Lisa talked about, who's available, and the position that they're taking in the litigation and the strength the city would have with regard to settlement and the direction of litigation. And we recommended the firm based on the things that Lisa just said, which is that the litigation is existing in the Northern District, and the fact that this firm has such a strong position with regard to the litigation. So it was more a consensus between the mayor, myself, and Lisa. And then also I did take the opportunity, as you know, other cities and counties have hired other firms. So I did take the opportunity to make sure that I reviewed those professional service agreements to make sure that there were no differences like you talk about in the rate and things of that nature. As you know, my firm works for other cities. We've seen on the news the fact that other counties and cities have hired other firms. So I took the opportunity. I also went to a MAMA conference in Lansing, Michigan Association of Municipal Attorneys, and I had a presenter at that particular conference who works out of state but does the same thing that Summer Schwartz did. So I had the opportunity to review his sample retainer agreement relative to the representation that he provides. So I was able to look at the main terms of representation across the board to make sure that we were receiving the same type of fee structure that everybody else was paying. It does not differ. And we did feel with the position that they're taking with regard to the litigation that they would be the best firm to recommend. It really is a niche type of representation that they're providing. So I don't think the benefit in bidding it out would have been there, given the fact that I can easily access all the retainer agreements for the other firms that do this, because there are only really a few in southern Michigan that do, and make a recommendation to avoid the lengthy process of bidding it out and such. So really it was, I think, a consensus after my research, meeting with Lisa, meeting with the mayor, that we're recommending this particular firm. But obviously we brought her here for purposes of being able to answer these types of questions for the public, so they got all their answers.
Now, if we do recover this money, where exactly is it going? Is it the general fund, or would it be allotted specifically?
So from a damages perspective, and Lisa can confirm this, eventually the city will be asked to show how are we damaged by the opioid crisis. So as you may or may not know, I'm your local prosecutor. So at the court, I see the cases that we get day in and day out in response to opioid, overdoses and things of that nature. So we will collaborate with myself, the 29th District Court, our police, our fire, any department that we think spends any sort of time whatsoever in responding to the crisis. And we will essentially do models. There'll be professionals that will do this, that will compute how much time, money, energy, and effort do we spend responding to this crisis. And so they will use that table as a means of distributing the damages should a settlement be reached. And then we have to justify, because we're asking for those damages as a result of the opioid crisis, that we're using those damages to address future problems. So it might be more money for the 29th District Court to have a program directed specifically for people who are affected by the opioid crisis. It might be hiring another police officer or another firefighter because they're the ones who respond to these calls. It might be paying for Narcan doses in advance. There's a wide range of what we can do with the money, but we need to justify the fact that this is damages associated with the opioid crisis. So how are these damages then going back to address the problem for the future?
So it would have to be allotted specifically, like so much for fire or court or police or whatever. You can't just lump it in the general fund and then do what you want with it.
Right.
That's my concern. I don't want it to go there and say it all goes to the recreation department, for example.
Right. No. The idea is, now, you can be creative, right? It doesn't have to go to directly a police officer responding to an overdose. It can be programs to prevent future addiction. It could be programs for families affected by addiction or children of people who've died as a result of, an overdose. But there has to be some sort of tangential connection to the fact that this is how it's originally connected to the problem and preventing the problem from occurring again or from getting larger.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. It's been moved by Councilman Racy and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Should we make a separate motion to retain this particular firm now that we've done the resolution, I think?
Matt, would you want that?
I thought it was all in the resolution.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
If you're satisfied with that, I just thought the resolution itself and then the firm should be separate.
They're in it.
They're in it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm
mentioned
satisfied
on the
there.
last page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Lisa Esser, just before you go though, could you just wait in the hall? I just have a couple things for you. Thank you. Right. So we'll move the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Is item 4, interview of city council candidates. The first candidate is Eric Clearman of 3148 Winifred. And how I believe that we will be going about this is we'll call in each candidate into the room. Then we will have their interviews in 15-minute increments. I will be the time monitor just to let you know when we're reaching that 15-minute increment. If we need a little more, we can wrap it up within the next minute, or if there's less, then we'll move along. Then later on in the agenda, there is an item that will have the selection. I included in that agenda item kind of the round-robin style voting, the 2 grids that are in this packet. So the packet I'm referring to is item 3A, B, C, D, and item 7G. So that's everything you should need. I also included a question for each interview behind that person's resume. So everything should be there for you. And so if you'd like, I can call in the first candidate, and then you can begin by asking the questions. Okay? And I'm going to have them sit up front. We've got a microphone ready for them too. So, all right. Thank you.
And we'll start the first question, we'll start with Mr. Porter, and then we'll go second question. Jeremiah. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have to follow these questions? Can we ask our own?
Well, if you,
ask every,
as long as you ask a question of everyone, the same question.
Yeah, it would be a question of everyone.
Yes, okay.
Good evening, Mr. Clearman.
How are you today?
Okay, a little nervous,
Good.
but all right.
Okay, take a deep breath. Yeah. We won't bite.
Thank you for
go ahead,
coming
Tom.
in and applying for this position and sitting before us. So my first question is, if someone came in here, let's say the state came in here and gave you a $1 million grant, what would you do with it and why? What departments, what would you do with that $1 million?
I think we could use more firefighters and police right off the bat. I'd also like to see some of that given toward neighborhood blight reduction programs. I've heard a lot of people talking when I polled for District 5. They want to see less vacant buildings. They want to see less buildings with the second floor caved in, broken windows, that sort of thing. I'd like to see more of it go to the local areas rather than just downtown. I think Downtown Development Authority does a great job for downtown. I'd like to see more of that out in the individual areas.
Okay, that's it. Okay, Councilman Webster, next question.
Thank you for coming out tonight. In your opinion, what qualifies you to be appointed to this position? In addition, please provide an overview of any I cannot say this word, municipal or other public sector background experience that you may have.
My home's in the city of Wayne. I have a vested interest in improving both my neighborhood and the city as a whole. My resume speaks to my management experience as well as my record of bringing significant improvements and cost savings early on in the job. I've attended council meetings as a citizen for some time now. I'm a fast learner. I believe that as a council member I would help drive progress to make our city something for our people to be proud of again. While I've not served on the council in the public sector, I've been serving in councils in the private sector for going on 20 years now. I've been a member of various change management councils at different businesses I've worked at. Their purpose is to ensure only tested quality changes made out to enterprise level software at the proper times, minimizing any disruption only through thorough implementation, testing, and backup plans having been completed. Served on as a member of diverse enterprise architecture teams. Responsibilities related to cross-functional integrations, customer needs analysis, vulnerability analysis, compliance with government mandated regulations such as Sarbanes-Oxley and Visa-KISP. I think I'd do good at the job here. Okay. And I think I'd benefit the city.
Okay. Councilman Racy.
Hi, Eric. How do you feel about the use of social media as a communication tool in the community?
There are pluses and minuses to it. I love Councilman Porter's page. It's been very informative. It's kept me up to date on things. I've seen the council agendas before they've come out on the city site through that. That's been helpful. At the same time, it presents a lot of challenges. We have pages that describe themselves as Wayne discussion groups that are run by individual people that have nothing to do with the city of Wayne. I've seen people blocked on those on a whim because they might not like somebody directly, or they might not like somebody that the people have in common. I think what further complicates things, that sometimes people will ask questions that they've seen on their one profile. They are under a different profile that's blocked so that the person doesn't see the questions coming to them. Somebody alerted me over the weekend that somebody had asked me a number of questions that I didn't see because they blocked me. They sent me screen captures of it. Turned out it was just them trying to make it appear as if I wasn't answering them when I had no way to see them since they blocked me. I think another issue is when I was polling, there were a lot of households I went to that didn't have computers or cell phones. Some through no fault of their own, poverty, that kind of thing. Well, not a fault issue, but others just didn't choose to have computers or cell phones. Some people don't want modern appliances like that. Those people have no way to get to Facebook, see Facebook groups, however well run as Councilman Porter's or other groups. I think a better outlet for communicating with citizens might be something along the lines of Nixle, where people can opt in their email address or their phone number and then get a text message quickly when there's a water main break, a school lockdown, a road closure, that sort of thing. I don't think it should be the only means of communications, though, because a lot of people don't have computers or cell phones.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Miller?
Thank you for applying this evening. Question 3, right?
Whichever one you want.
Okay. What expertise or experience do you bring to the council that you will enhance the council's ability to see different and or positive perspective?
I've made it a point for a few years now to attend a lot of outside meetings that have things or have impacts on Wayne. Last month I went to Channel 7's Town Hall on school violence. Met Sheriff Benny Maholiano. Also spoke to a couple other people, Debbie Stabenow, regarding that. Any ideas they might have. Just listening on it, trying to learn more about the whole situation that we might not discuss locally, but definitely affects us. I went to the recent Wayne Police meeting, spoke to Chief Mayor Sig about the same kind of thing. Also about issues I'd seen where we've had a couple accidents recently in train tracks and Cadillac Motel, what they could do about those. And I went last month to a local forum on narcotics with 4 local judges, including one of the Wayne and Westland judges, how they're treating that epidemic. When I lived over in Westland, I lived in a trailer before I saved up enough to buy my house, and we got a bullet in our wall from the next door neighbors having a gunfight because they were dealing dope there. It's personal to me, and I like learning about that kind of thing, what they can do about it, and just giving my input back to it. A couple older examples are last year, I went to the local forum here we had about the Unistrut chemical fire and how they're remediating and that with the drill wells to see how the levels are doing, putting in shields to prevent it from migrating outwards from that neighborhood into the other areas around there, water table, that kind of thing. And I went to a Q&A session in Ohio last year with the Army Corps engineers regarding a lot of chemical waste they're shipping from down there over to Belleville on flatbed trucks. Gave some input on that, been in touch with them since then, and also been over to Belleville to talk about the same thing. My concern there is Belleville's upwind from us, so I just don't want that blowing towards our neighborhoods. And it was a concern that originally they were sending on trucks that didn't have tarps on them, so it was just blowing out the back. Regarding a positive perspective, to me, when I wake up in the morning, I have a choice to have a good day or have a bad day. I choose to have a good day. I can help myself in my community, or I cannot. I've been putting a lot of effort into cleaning up Avondale Park because that's where my family goes to. It's important to me. I know Goody's important to a lot of people, and they were involved with that effort, but Avondale's the one that's most important to me, so I try to clean up there. I'm a computer programmer by trade, so putting in a digital perspective, I could be a 0 or I can be a 1. I choose to be a 1. I want to be the 1. With a different Regarding having a different perspective, being a computer programmer, I've implemented a lot of tools with what we call 5 why analysis in the trade. It's you ask a series of questions: why did this happen? You answer that. Well, what caused that? You answer that, and it leads to good root cause analysis. So you can try to remediate a problem before it gets worse. Done a lot with Scrum teams, which is kind of like extreme programming, but it's where a small group of people meets quickly, develops a course of action, implements it, and gets the problem taken care of before it gets worse, or brings a product to market quickly. I think we can do that a lot on a city level, particularly with the focus groups that we have. My first my first experience with a team environment was junior achievement when I was 12. It's kind of like when you pick kids for dodgeball. You have the kids that get picked first that everybody wants, and you have the kids at the end that nobody wanted. We had a few special needs kids, and a couple of the other teams were saying, I don't want that kid on my team. I said, let's have them on ours. And what ended up happening was they were real happy to be there. A couple of them really are happy just to do anything at all. Enjoyed painting. We sold computer chess sets that we made. And we ended up bringing home more than $2,000, which is the second highest amount in our county. That was above all the other teams that didn't want those kids. I think it's real important that everybody's included who wants to be included, and that any good ideas are listened to. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on that one.
Thank you. Very genuine answer.
Thank you. Councilman Gabriel.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Clareman. Again, thank you for coming out and showing interest here. How would you handle an issue that may be very important to the continued stability of the city, however it may not have the total support of the community?
The one issue that comes to mind when you ask that is the city's solvency. In the past, our expenditures have been higher than our revenue. We've come very close to bankruptcy, but that's turned around in the last year here. That said, we're still very close to it. I think we need to keep our eyes on that and only spend what we need to spend, not what we want to spend. That's more of a guideline than a hard set rule. There are wants we're going to have that makes sense. If we wanted a new fire truck, we got a grant for the part that wasn't paid for by the state, so it made sense to get that. We want to fix the Second Street Bridge. We can get a grant with that, so it makes sense to apply for that, even though we're paying out $15,000. So it might not be a need right this minute, but it's definitely something that'll help. We can't raise money by taxes. Too many people have said, I don't want my taxes to go up. We're already paying one of the highest tax rates in Michigan. I get that. I don't want to pay higher taxes either. So I think we have to have the money that we have make more sense how we're spending it. Also, I think it's important that we can get benefit without having to spend money where we can. I've heard that a lot with people asking for volunteers for various projects, ex-police possibly helping out at the schools where they want to be paid, just so we have a police presence. But to answer your question more directly, we voted to sell 2 parks last year. They haven't sold yet. That was an unpopular decision. It could make us money. We've got lots of other parks. Although I don't like the idea of selling parks, I get it. I would have made the same vote. Why not sell 2 parks that are less used so that we can save some money, possibly make it? I don't think it makes sense always to sell property though just for the sake of selling it. Like we have a property that sells for $1 here. Storage one up the road that's been, or we've talked about a lot lately. We're paying a lot more into that than we paid for it. I understand we're going to make more money in the future, but in the short term, that's costing us a lot of money to fix that up for them. Also, the fire truck that we gave to Westland for $1, all the trailer. But I think it'd be nice to please everybody, but that's not feasible. Making cuts are a very contentious process, but it needs to be done, whether it's a park, a vehicle. I think the answer is, if it's something we need, I'm going to vote my conscience. If it's something that we just want, I'm going to look at it real hard and say, does this move the city forward, or is it putting us further in debt?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other specific ideas to move the city forward?
Plenty. During the 70s, our population growth kind of stalled, and since 1980, it's gone down 19.8%. Our population continues to age, so we have more retired people, which is great, but we also have a lot more people on a fixed income due to them being retired. I'd like to try and get more young people in here. People are going to buy their properties and live here for another 4 years. I think that's going to drive people spending more money in Wayne trying to build it up, rather than just looking into someplace they're going to live until they move to Florida. No offense meant to anybody in that. I'm probably going to move to Florida when I'm older too. It's a great place. But as far as the vacant businesses go that I was talking to earlier, I'm trying to work with the Wayne County Land Bank to get a couple of the ones that qualify as blighted cited for that. The city hasn't been able to do much with that. I understand that our laws don't allow for that, but the Wayne County ones are more stringent. If they have broken windows, they haven't had utilities on for a year, the roof is caving in, they can be fined hundreds of dollars a day until it's taken care of. In a lot of cases, they just end up giving the property to the land bank and paying to have it demolished. People complain about we have too many used car lots on Michigan Avenue. I think that's a boon for us. People come to Wayne to buy used cars. Those used cars make money in taxes. The city makes money from that. Vacant buildings that kids are playing in are dangerous. We aren't making any money at all off of it. It's a bad deal, and if I can drive that through Wayne County helping us out, I'm trying to do that.
Excuse me for a moment. This is the 15-minute mark.
Okay, all right then. We will have to end then to right there.
Sure.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and your interest, and
Thank you for
we
your
will be
time.
voting on it later on in the agenda.
Appreciate you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
does that mean we cannot ask 6 and 4? 2, 6, and 4?
Within 15 minutes.
You can ask them. You know, we're just trying to get as much information as we can in the 15 minutes. So,
So they have the question.
I don't know. He answered really a lot of them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess.
Foreseen that one.
Speak up. Okay.
So do they have the questions then?
What? Who?
The candidates, are they?
Yeah.
They got the they got
in
the
the
packet.
packet.
Yeah, it was in the packet on that went online. Yeah.
I didn't realize we did.
Hello, Mr. Dowd. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming here and putting yourself out there. We're going to start with the questions, and then as we go through, if there's something that you want to maybe expand on a little bit more, you can.
Okay.
But I'll start this time with Councilman Gabriel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Dowd, again, for the second interest in the appointment and coming out tonight as well. To start off, how would you handle an issue that may be very important to the continued stability of the city, however it may not have the total support of the community?
Well, I think you have to be you have to listen to all parties and all sides to make sure they understand the variables and the long-term consequence and the short-term consequence. I think that nowadays you have to be cautious in the public arena, and because of that, you have to.
Could you?
I gotta go.
I'm sorry about that.
All right.
Sorry.
Anyways, I think that it's when you're dealing with something that's of a matter that may not be a popular, unilaterally a popular decision or an idea, you have to be cautious of how you present your opinions, because nowadays socially it gets misconstrued. So it's better to, I guess, have your opinions at the time when you present the decisions, and let the cards fold out at that point. So I guess that's the best way I can say it.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Thank you for coming this evening. How much do you know about the city's current financial situation or challenges, and how would you address them?
I'm very, very familiar with them. I was part of the task force that was brought on when I think there was a high level of concern. So I'm very familiar with the numbers, very familiar with the history, and as a resident, I've felt the impact of this. I've been a resident now for 19 years, you know, so I know what the differences have been, the service lines that have changed. It's not beneath me to understand or above me. I've not. How can I say this? I haven't gone to I haven't gone a blind eye to. I know that it costs money to operate the city, even beforehand. Being involved with the task force, you know, it was obvious that the numbers were what they were, and we reacted in a way that was hopefully to be proactive and get things back on track. How does that measure to my life? I've been involved with profit and loss reports, spreadsheets, balance sheets, finance on many levels, both with my nonprofit that I'm involved in and also my business lines. I make decisions on money all day long. So it's a matter of negative dollars versus positive dollars. So.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Councilman Racy.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for coming out tonight. How do you feel about the use of social media as a communication tool in the community?
Well, I think like anything, too much of anything is a bad thing. Social media can be a positive, powerful tool. I use it now for hiring people, and as long as you can stay in the positive side of things, it's fantastic. It's a matter of not getting into a point where it becomes more of an argument or confusion within the element that it is, or outside the element. Secondary social media, you know, it goes from Facebook over to Twitter, and it's you know, before you know, it's coming back around on Instagram, back to Facebook, and it's a whole different story. So I think it can help a city out. I think it can help an environment out. Certainly can help a company out. So when you're doing interviews, you look at people's social media accounts and that attributes to how you. I mean, you can. I don't necessarily do that. I think what I say is I actually put ads out on Facebook.
Okay, so you're not.
I went to a hiring retention seminar down in Nashville. It was put on by the International Trucking Association, and they stated that the number 2 way that millennials are making decisions on their jobs and finding jobs is through Facebook. So being that there's so many other out there, that's kind of, you know, you have everything from Monster to Indeed to, and the fact that Facebook, they stated that Facebook was coming in number 2, tells the power of the element that it is.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Webster.
Mr. Dowd, thank you for coming out tonight. What has been your involvement in city clubs, organizations, other city government groups?
I currently sit on the Housing Commission, and I was part of the task force, the financial task force, some years ago. And other than that, city government's not something that I've ever, or state, or, you know, becoming a senator. It's not my ambition. I'm more here because I'm a concerned citizen. I want to do my part. I'm in a point in my life where I have the time, and I have the passion, I have the love for the city, and I'm not planning on moving, and I want to continue to contribute in a way that I think I can in a non-professional, professional way.
Okay. And Councilman Porter.
Thank you for applying again, Mr. Dowd, and coming in this evening. So the state comes in here and gives you a $1 million grant. What are you going to spend it on, and why?
bank account, because sooner or later you're not going to have $1 million. That's for sure. You're going to have less than that right out of the gate. First of all, it would depend on what the grant was written for, because grants are never free money. They're all about what they are. And
this one's a free one. Whatever
really?
You want. Tell us what you want.
Well, I gotta say, I immediately have a want and a need for more police and more firemen. I enjoyed going to 7-Eleven and seeing the station there, and with my child when I was in the area, I enjoyed the extra events that were put on by the by the groups, such as the DARE program, and fortunate enough my kids went through that through school, and the fact that they're not, that we don't have that kind of level at this point, I think I'd probably double down. I'd put $1 million of my own in there too. So
okay. Thank you.
Okay. What other ideas do you have to move the city of Wayne forward?
Well, I think you have to kind of throw the rule book out a little bit, and you kind of have to maybe not do what always has worked, but try things that that are practical, smart, and may have a positive outcome. Nowadays, from an employment status, people jump jobs a lot more than they used to. Mm-hmm. What's important to a 50-something is not the same that's important to a 20-something or a 25-something or a 30-something. So you have to look to lure, to me, staying in the vein of the police and fire, you have to look at what's more important to them: time off, or the length of the contract, or a little bit better, higher stipend in insurance. There are variables that you move around that are probably more appealing for different age groups. So I think one of the things I look at is look at where the priorities are. The new generations, really, that at this point, with more than 50% of the millennials in the workforce, I take a pulse on what's going on and what's important to them, and start to mold it to the next generation.
Okay. And we'll start again with Councilman Gabriel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In your opinion, what qualifies you to be appointed to this position? In addition, please provide an overview of any municipal or any public sector background experience you might have.
I'm a citizen of Wayne. I have a high passion for the city, for the Wayne Westland area, matter of fact. And my water bill is caught up, so those are the 2 checks administratively that are on there. But from a perspective of what qualifies me is, I think I'm a good neighbor. I think I have a very consistent notoriety in the city. I'm not known for one thing or another, but I have a passion for where we go from here, and whether I am in it or not, I still have that same passion, and I would still raise my hand to be a committee person for things, and support the city in any way and in any endeavor. There's been very minimal what it takes to be qualified, but the other side of it, I think what I offer is a level head, a sound thinker. I may be a little loud at times, but more so I'm consistent in my thoughts on how I operate, but I have an open mind to change. Just as I mentioned about where we should go, I think that it's important to listen before you act. So my civic duties and responsibilities, other than what I've entertained and supported here in the state of the city. I've mentioned. Outside of that, I've been running a nonprofit involved in a nonprofit since 1995, and we operate to Robert's rules, and we give scholarships out to graduate students going into supply chain. And there are bylaws, there are consequences, there are presidents, there are boards, there are councils. So the whole element is what I'm familiar with. Nothing more than that, I think.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for being here this evening. Will your schedule provide for attendance at the regular first and third Tuesday council meeting, as well as special meetings or study sessions that are scheduled on and or it is needed basis?
Yes, yes, unequivocally yes. I only work about 12 minutes from here, so and I'm in a position where I'm dotted line to the director of the company, so I'm more of a convenience than a requirement.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Councilman Racy.
Okay. Kevin, what expertise or experience do you bring to the council that will enhance the council's ability to see a different and or positive perspective?
Expertise that's a tight word, and I think I consider myself a jack of all trades and expert of none, being at my age. But I have been level 1 grievance for UAW truck drivers for over 15 years. So I've sat in on, I've been grievance level 1, so I understand the importance of the CBA, and I understand following the line to the dollar on, or to the letter on contracts. I've also on a daily basis, my job now is procurement manager, so I read contracts daily and look for opportunity to mitigate risk for our company. I have a high level of financial background too, so I can do 2 + 2 + 2 is 6 pretty easy. So
Thanks.
Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor, that
Yes,
is the 15-minute mark
okay.
also.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Dowd. We
Okay.
appreciate you being here this
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Why is everybody in here sick?
They're all down there too. And leave it.
Yep.
I don't want the sick bug.
I know.
I'm
I know.
not sick.
You're sick.
Not that kind of sick.
Welcome, Mr. Fisher. How are you this evening?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Okay. We just have some questions we're going to ask you, and if you can, expand on them as you see fit. And we will start with Councilman Porter.
Again? Good evening, Mr. Fisher. Thank you for applying for the position again. Thank you for coming in this evening. Let's say the state walks in here tonight and gives you $1 million grant to spend on whatever you wish to do to improve the city. What would you do with it and why?
Anything?
Yep.
Just $1 million.
Yeah, well, they're cheap.
Okay.
We know that.
I'd talk to the chief and see what he needs first. Obviously, we need more police. That would be first priority. And I think the reason is if we have adequate police coverage, then we are able to add a lot more things besides the residents feeling safe and secure. Then we can add back things like parades and festivals and that we aren't able to do right now because we don't have the coverage. Do you want beyond that?
It's good with me.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll go Councilman Gabriel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me. Thanks again for coming out. I'll echo Tom Porter on the second attempt here, and Again, appreciate the perseverance, but how would you handle an issue that might be very important to the continued stability of the city, however it may not have the total support of the community?
Say it again.
Yeah. How would you handle an issue that may be very important to the continued stability of the city, however it may not have the total support of the community?
Well, if I were appointed, then I would approach this as I was appointed by people that were elected. We are elected to do the bidding of the citizens. It might not make sense, and it might not help the stability, but they're the ones that are putting all of us into position. So I think we need to be very sensitive about what their desires and wishes are. Could we educate them better? Perhaps, probably so. That's probably what would be lacking, would be the education of why this is necessary. Or could we gain their trust better? Perhaps. But yeah, I think that's a touchy question, because we're elected and appointed by the citizens, and so I don't think we can say, well, this is for your own good. You have to eat your vegetables. That's a precarious situation, I think.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
And thank you for being here this evening. There's one in particular here that I wanted to ask you is, how do you feel about the use of social media as a communication device or tool?
I think it's phenomenal for a communication tool. I think the biggest downfall and the biggest need in public service is communication. And any tool that we have at our disposal should be used as such. The more people know and the more informed our electorate is, the better decisions that they can make. So yeah, social media is just one more tool that we can use for our advantage to educate, to get the word out, to call people around causes and issues. Yeah, I think it's excellent. I think it needs to be guarded. I think it needs to be used very carefully. I don't think, especially people in the public eye, I don't think they should be responding to every single comment. I think that's ridiculous. If you're an elected official, you need to have some self-control. But using it for communication purposes, I think it's excellent.
Thank you. Councilman Racy.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Len.
John. Councilman Racy, I'm sorry.
What ideas do you have to move the city of Wayne forward?
We have got to change the mindset. We need to change the mindset on both sides of the table. It seems like we've come to have a mentality of what we can't do. We don't have the money, we don't have the manpower, we don't have this, and so we can't do this. There's a city I was reading about just recently. The mayor has instituted a yes team, and their job is to say yes to projects, to say yes to getting things done. And I think that's a phenomenal idea. But that means changing people's minds from the negative to, well, this can't be done, or we don't have the money, or we've never done it that way before, to why not?
Okay.
Councilman Webster.
Mr. Fisher, thank you for coming out tonight. Will your schedule provide for attendance at the regular first and third Tuesday council meetings, as well as special council meetings or study sessions that are scheduled on an as-needed basis?
Yes, for the council meetings, absolutely. For the special meetings, that sounds like an open-ended question. Like, are you available all the time, anytime we call a meeting? So do you have any more definitive definition of that?
Well, I guess let me expand a little bit. So I know that you were big into the theater. So let's say we have to call a special meeting and you already have a show scheduled. How would you work that out if there was something that we had to meet about right then? It was something of that much importance. How would you balance those two parts of your life?
Well, let me do an explanation here. People asked me to run for the position in November, and I told them no, just because I thought that I wouldn't have the time to serve correctly. But this is a position that ends in November, and my theater takes a break during the summer. So basically, this is a position for the remainder of the summer months and into the fall, when we're just starting up again. So during this time, I would be available.
Okay.
And Councilman Porter?
Me again?
Yeah.
What expertise or experience do you bring to the council that will enhance the council's ability to see a different and or positive perspective?
Can you ask that a different way, Tom?
What's that?
Can you ask that a different way?
No. I'm just reading it off the paper. So what do you bring to council that
Why pick me?
Yeah.
Okay. I run my own business. My business it moves forward because of volunteers. I think right now in the city of Wayne, that's what we need, is someone that knows how to rally volunteers. We don't have the people that get things done, or to do things like we used to do them with the. We don't have it. We have tonight. You talked about. We're going to talk about the Parks and Trails Committee. We need people to step up and volunteer for these things. And so one of the expertises that I bring to this position would be being able to rally people behind causes, to get them to support things, to get them to sign on.
Okay.
Mr. Fisher, what other involvement have you had in city clubs, organizations, any other city government groups?
I'm Ezra Derby, the founder of Wayne.
No, he's dead.
Very good job.
He's dead, though.
No, he's alive and well.
No.
She's not been to the events.
I've seen you do it.
So I'm involved on a limited basis with the Historical Society. They get me for different things. I attend Rotary meetings as often as possible, just because, my goodness, what an organization that does great stuff. I am not, as Mr. Webster said, I'm not, brought up, I've got a theater to run, and my theater runs in the evenings and afternoons and weekends, so I'm not available a lot of times for the club meetings and whatnot that take place in the city.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us that you feel we haven't touched on?
Yes. Like I said, I applied for this position. I applied for the position because I care about Wayne. I live in Wayne. I own a home in Wayne. When we were looking to buy a home, we tried to focus our search in Wayne because we like Wayne. We like the atmosphere of Wayne. It's a nice community. It's a livable community, and it's got nothing but potential. Again, I did not submit my name for a candidacy because I realized I would not have the time to serve adequately, and that's not what we need, is someone that's a part-time position here. But this is a closed-in position. Mm-hmm. It's in my mind, I'm seeing it as a position for someone that doesn't have political ambitions, that just wants to sit on the council and get stuff done. I think that would be me. So.
Okay, all right. Councilman Gabriel, do you have any other questions?
I would just finish off the sheet with 6.
Okay.
If you like. How much do you know about the city's current fiscal situation or challenges, and how would you address them?
Well, I would hope that anybody that's sitting on this side of the table would know, coming in, where we're at in Wayne as far as the financial situation. We listen to Lisa give the reports, and we listen to Lori, and we, what's being published is our deficit and where our shortfall in the budget is. So I'm aware of that. How would I address it? We have some smart minds in Wayne, smart financial people. As Kevin and I were talking about, the committee that was put together before the vote a couple years ago. There are people that know finances. I tap on those people big time, and I just keep tapping on them until there was ideas coming up. I'm not the financial guy person. I'm the big picture guy. I'm the volunteer guy. I'm the project guy that gets things going. But there's, like I said, there's some financial wizards in this town that we need to tap into.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Fisher. We've reached the 15-minute mark. Appreciate it. We'll be voting later on this evening and would contact you if you're not going to stay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Wilson. How are you this evening?
Good. How about yourself?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for asking. We have a series of questions we'll ask you, and if you want to expand on your answers to those questions, you can do so, okay? So I'll start with, I think I finished with you. Yeah, we'll start with Councilman Racy.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Mr. Wilson. How do you feel about the use of social media as a communication tool in the community?
Social media actually is a huge tool, but it also could be a really bad tool at the same time. There's actually a councilman on board basically that posts stuff on Facebook that keeps a lot of the citizens well informed, and it's a very good thing that he keeps a positive outlook of the city. But at the same time, there's other Facebook boards that tend to not have the positiveness towards the city and doesn't show the correct information all the time. So it could be back and forth kind of thing.
Okay. Councilman Webster.
What has been your involvement in city clubs, organizations, other city government groups?
Okay, so I am a phlebotomist at one of the largest employers of the city of Wayne, Beaumont Wayne. I have tendency to work a lot with them with city events. Two of the events that are pretty big in the city, well, one of them that used to be pretty big in the city of Wayne is the Red October Run, which I used to volunteer all the time for. And then something that's also new, this will be the 3rd year that we have had it, is the Safety Day, which I believe is August 1st, so it's coming up pretty soon. That, and I've also attended some other events like the Farmers Market, which we no longer have at the moment, but I'm hoping we can bring back soon. And then the Wayne Rotary concerts also.
And Councilman Porter.
Thank you. Thank you for applying for the job, and thank you for coming in this evening. Let's say the state walked in here and give you $1 million grant to do whatever you wanted to with it in the city. What would you do, and why?
Well, I would have to say one of the biggest issues I feel in the city of Wayne would have to be our police and fire department. We are lacking on employees and budgets. Obviously, we got to keep low. with that $1 million, we could do quite a bit. New equipment, new vehicles, which I also believe that's on our agenda today, that with our city manager that brought to our attention that we will be possibly approving a new ambulance for the city of Wayne, which is a very good thing. But getting a huge grant like that, we can do so much in the city of Wayne.
Thank you.
Councilman Gabriel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for coming out tonight and showing interest here. How would you handle an issue that may be very important to the continued stability of the city, however it may not have the total support of the community?
Well, you can't always please everyone, but we have to do what's best for the city, and that is one of the biggest things that a lot of people get sidetracked about. One of the things we've had in the past was Proposal S, that a lot of people weren't big fans of it, but as council and as one of my biggest things with the city, with our emergency services, sometimes you just have to do what's best or what you believe is best for the city and not what everyone else thinks.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for being here this evening. What ideas do you have to move the city forward?
Just a few of the ideas. Like I said before, I would like to spend most of my time in the next 5 months tirelessly to try to get as much funds or anything we can figure out with emergency services. I think it is one of the biggest issues that we have within our city, and to bring more people into the city to buy homes. We want a clean and safe city, an environment that is very great for young people these days. That's one of the biggest things. Like if you want to go to Canton or Livonia, you're looking at great city services, great emergency services, stuff that keeps us safe. And that's what I want to look at.
Thank you.
What do you know about the city's current financial situation?
Sorry to be so blunt, but honestly, if no one knows out of these 4 individuals, we shouldn't be here today. We are struggling with money quite often, which I've said more than once. We really want to move this city forward and do what's best for it at the end of the day. We need to figure out what's going on and get established. No more theatrics going on in the council. We need to get and move the city forward.
Councilman Racy.
Okay. What expertise or experiences do you bring to the council that will enhance the council's ability to see a different and/or positive perspective?
Can you repeat that question, please?
What expertise or experience do you bring to the council that will enhance the council's ability to see a different and/or positive perspective?
I would have to say expertise, more or less. My expertise would have to be the fact that I do work in the medical field. I work first-handed with our police officers that get brought in. They bring in patients all the time. The fire department we see on a daily basis that needs to be our focus. They're always running back and forth, so I see first-handed being in the medical field.
Okay. And Councilman Webster.
Will your schedule provide for attendance at the regular first and third Tuesday council meetings, as well as special council meetings or study sessions that are scheduled on an as-needed basis?
Pertaining to my acclamation on my letter of interest, this is my full focus for the next 5 months. This is what I want to do. I want to make this city better. I know it's only 5 months, but the fact that you can still make a difference within weeks of being here. My attendance will be foremost the best I can ever do. I'll be attending as much as I possibly can for any of the after events for the city. And I just want to do what makes everyone proud. I want to make this city great again.
Okay. Is there anything that we may have, not asked you that you wish to, expand upon, or, like how long have you lived here, or that type of thing?
So, obviously my name is Michael Wilson. I've lived here for 27 years. I've done quite a bit in the city. I've went to Roosevelt, I went to Franklin, I went to Wayne High. I was on city baseball. I was in JRTC in the high school, which is a pretty good program. I've been in way back when I was younger. I was in the gardening club. I've done quite a bit with this city throughout my 27 years of being here, and it's time for me to step up and do what I can possibly for the next 5 months, maybe even longer.
Okay. And with that, I think we've covered just about everything. Thank you. Appreciate you coming and putting yourself out there. And we will be voting on this later on the agenda. If you wanted to stay, you can, or if not, Matt would be calling whoever is selected.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you so much for you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Gee, got me coughing now.
You're welcome.
They all said police.
Yeah, they all said police and fire.
I told you what I told you before.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move the agenda?
Does anybody need a break?
Yeah, but I won't come back.
Oh, okay.
You're not excused.
We've been at this since 6:30 this evening. That's why I asked folks. So.
Okay, the next item is item 5, appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Item 5A
Please.
is to appoint Nancy Wojcicki-Knoll to the Nankin Transit Commission to fill the unexpired term of Lloyd Allen until December 2018.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5B is to reappoint Susan M. Rowe, Mayor, as the delegate to the Central Wayne County Sanitation Authority until June 30th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Support.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Miller, supported by Councilman Webster. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I don't have to remind anyone, we are having an election in November, and nothing, I don't want to sound derogatory to you, Madam Mayor. We know that Mrs. Rowe will not be rejoining this elected body in November. We will have council members Raisa, Mr. Porter, and Mr. Webster returning. I don't know about the other seats, so I would like to make a friendly suggestion by appointing interim one of the 3 council members that will be seated on this dais come November until after the election. That's just a suggestion, and I hope you would entertain appointing one of the 3 council members interim until after the November general election. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5C is to appoint Assistant DPW Director Ed Queen as the alternate delegate to the Central Wayne County Sanitation Authority until June 30th, 2019.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Gabriel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item is item 5D, and this is to reappoint the following. Each year we have a general reappointment of a number of boards and commissions that occurs in June, take effect in July, and serve for terms that are either 2, 4, 3. As you can see, each term is a little different for each board. I did contact all of these volunteers for the community. I also have contacted the department head responsible for each of these boards, commissions, or committees, and all of these people that are on here have agreed to serve another term and also are in good standing on the boards. Also, we do have to appoint each one individually, and so I can kind of go ahead and begin. Is that good? All right, thank you. The first is to reappoint Carol Bavard to the Commission on Aging until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Porter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
The next is Kathy Rockwell to the Commission on Aging until July 2021.
Approval.
Been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Diane Souls to the Commission on Aging until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Porter. Webster, I'm sorry. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then we'll go to the Planning Commission. Robert Pugh, reappoint Robert Pugh until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Gabriel, supported by Councilman Webster. Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Beverly Shackelford to the Planning Commission until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
Been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Deborah Wass to the Planning Commission until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bless you.
The next commission is the Historical Commission, and reappoint Sharon Arthur to the Historical Commission until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Lois Van Stipdonk to the Historical Commission until July 2021.
Move approval.
It's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Racy. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. The next is the Zoning Board of Appeals. Jay Armstrong to the Zoning Board of Appeals until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
Been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Hurley, Michael Hurley, until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved, excuse me, it's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then Don Quarles to the Zoning Board of Appeals until July 2021.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Racy. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the last board is the Cemetery Board. Cynthia Adams till July 2020.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And the reappointment of Ronald Ford to the Cemetery Board until July 2022.
Move approval.
Support.
Been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Porter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And final is the reappointment of Thomas Cahill to the Cemetery Board until July 2022.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Webster, supported by Councilman Porter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Till next year.
Yes, and I will send letters out tomorrow
Okay.
thanking them for their service and
Okay.
confirming your appointments. Okay, item 6 are the communications and reports. Item 6A is the April 30th, 2018 revenue and expenditure report.
Wish of council?
Receive and file.
Okay.
The next item is item 6B. It's a memo and a thank you from Beaumont Annapolis Hospital to the police department regarding the medication take-back event.
I'd like to read the little thank you.
Well, if I can find it.
Do you want me to read it?
If you can, thank you. Yes, please.
Okay. This was sent to the city manager from Alan Masiak, and the thank you letter goes to Officer Jeffrey Grisby. Thank you for participating in the Beaumont Hospital Wayne Pain Medication Take Back Day. Your support in protecting our community against drug abuse and overdoses by helping with the disposal of unused and expired medications is greatly appreciated. Your support makes a difference. Appreciation of our partnership with the police department. And that was signed by Eric Widner, who is the division president of Beaumont Hospital, and he also wrote a thank you to Officer Chad Coe. Thank you for participating in the Beaumont Hospital Wayne Pain Medication Take Back Day. Your support in protecting our community against drug abuse and overdoses by helping with the disposal of unused and expired medications is greatly appreciated. Chief, please. I'm sure they already have been notified.
Item 6C is Wayne Main Street Outdoor Game Nights at Derby's Alley. And I do have the information for that. The Wayne Main Street is hosting outdoor game nights at Derby's Alley, which is on Michigan Avenue by the GI Surplus and Baker's Acre. And they're going to have games outside in the on the tables there on Wednesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. on June 13th, June 20th, June 27th, and July 11th. And they're going to have games there. You can bring a game. They're also going to have refreshments available for purchase. All ages are welcome. And again, that's Wednesdays in June, and the second Wednesday in July from 6 to 9 p.m. at Derby's Alley. And Wayne Main Street would like you to go out and enjoy that new public space.
Yes, okay. I have a flyer up here if anybody's interested in taking it. Okay. Next item
is item 7, general items for consideration. Item 7A is to approve the establishment of a Parks and Trails Committee.
This was a recommendation that we had asked the city the city manager to look into for a Parks and Trails Committee. And we discussed this, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, the last meeting. And I would like to know what the wish of council is, if we wish to move forward and have this put on as a committee.
I'd move approval on that.
Support.
Okay, it was moved by Councilman Porter and supported by Councilman Racy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anyone who is interested in serving on this, if you would please fill out the application online for commissions and various boards that we ask you to apply for. Also, if you would include in there some of your expertise that you might have for parks and trails information. It would be important that you would be knowledgeable in that area. And just send that application in to the city clerk. And from there, we will have appointments to that committee made, hopefully within at least a month or two, depending on how many applications we get. Yes?
May I ask a question, Mayor?
Yes.
As you will recall, in the memo that I sent to the council with a breakdown, it says composed of 5 to 7 members, so I will need guidance on whether or not you want to go with 5 or 7 members.
I would like to see 7.
7? Okay. Then
Okay,
we'll go
thank
with
you
the
for
7.
that. Okay, thank you.
We do need to vote on this.
I thought we, okay. All in favor of going with the establishment of the Parks and Trails Committee with 7 members?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is item 7B. This is to approve the 2018-2019 Michigan Municipal League membership in the amount of $7,267 to be paid from the City Council memberships and dues budget.
Move approval.
Is there support? Well, we can't vote on it without support.
Support.
Okay. It's been moved and supported to pay the dues for $7,267. And what is the wish of council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. Died for lack of a vote, so we will not be joining the Michigan Municipal League. Next item
is item 7C. This is to approve the purchase of an F-450 marquee module ambulance from Mercy Sales Inc., Saginaw, Michigan, for $198,468 based on the State of Michigan consolidated bid to be paid from the Distressed Cities Grant and a private donation.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy and supported by Councilman Webster. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to say to whoever the citizen was that donated the money, thank you.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is item 7D. This is to approve the purchase of 3 control station antennas by Mobile Communication Services, Inc., Livonia, Michigan, for $8,000 on an emergency basis to be paid from the Police Capital Outlay budget.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Racy, supported by Councilman Webster. Any questions or discussion? No? Yes.
Please. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. As you're aware, a couple months ago, you had approved the purchase of 3 base station radios, one for the command office, one for the report writing room, and one for up at our old dispatch center where the police service aid sits. We had issues with connectivity, and obviously officers had to almost go in the parking lot to use their portables. What had happened when I received the radios just recently and hooked them up, we found that the antennas are not mounted to the roof, they're actually stuck up in the ceiling. So because we're on the state system, the signal strength isn't as strong as when we were with Westland at the Westland 800 megahertz tower. Back then they worked, now they don't. So we still have that same connectivity issue. I called our Motorola rep in to maybe we can do a cheap option and run the antennas into the lobby where the skylight is and maybe get a signal. We weren't able to do a strong enough signal. So we kind of looked at every option. At that point we called in Mobilecom who does our radios. They looked through everything, and this is a quote not to exceed $8,000 to run all 3 of the antennas up onto the roof properly, and it's going to be done right, and the radios will function properly. Like I said, it's not to exceed $8,000, and also included in this, what I talked to them about is also a cell phone, basically to bring the cell phone service up in that area of the station because we don't get service as well in the command office. So that'd be an added option. It's right around $700, but that would take care of that as well. Usually when we have emergency situations we're dealing with, not only are we on landlines, but we're all on our cell phones too. And a lot of us have to run out into the hallway or something to talk on our cell phones, which isn't optimal. So what this does is a complete package. It's going to solve all our issues, and it'll be done. So.
All right. It has been moved by Councilman Racy and supported by Councilman Webster. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
The next item is item 7E, to approve the cancellation of the July 3rd, 2018 regular City Council meeting due to the July 4th holiday.
Move approval.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Porter, supported by Councilman Gabriel. Is there any discussion or questions? Yes. Yeah, Mr. Amos.
I'd like to know why it's being canceled and not moved to a different date. If July the 4th is being recognized on Monday, what would it have to interfere with Tuesday?
Actually, it's going. It's
if you
going to
want
be recognized on Wednesday, so this would be the day before, and it's being canceled due to a lack of quorum. We don't know if we will have enough council people present for the meeting, and we've canceled meetings before for that also.
So is it being rescheduled for a later date?
At this time, no. Right now, it doesn't look like the agenda would be such that we would have to. But if we do, we would reschedule it if need be. But this has been done in the past.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mr. Bukovich?
Thank you. Thank you. I guess my concern here is if a special meeting is needed, you only need a short amount of time to schedule one. And council meetings, you know, the citizens can speak at them, and if you only give them, say, 48 hours, or I can't remember what the legal is, if it's 24, 48,
18.
or 72, it's 18? Okay. That's even worse to me, because that's such a short notice. And I won't even be here on the 3rd, so it's not for me, it's for the benefit of the citizens, and I really think that possibly scheduling the meeting on, let's say, the 5th or some other date, actually having a specific date to have the meeting, I think is a better idea than just canceling it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bukovich. Okay, it's been moved and supported. All in favor of canceling the July 3rd meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is item 7G. This is to approve the appointment to fill the at-large city council position of the unexpired term of Jeremiah R. Webster until November 12, 2018. So this is the round-robin method of filling this vacancy. Also in your packet is included is the grid. I'll be recording the grid in the roll call vote, and what we'll do is we'll take the first candidate and then go through that. Actually, we'll go through all the candidates, and then we'll have the first to vote is in the round robin is Mayor Pro Tem Miller. So the first vote is Mayor Pro Tem Miller and Eric Clearman.
Yes.
All right. And Councilman Racy.
I guess I'm confused. So we're voting just on Eric Clearman then?
Across, and then we would do Kevin Dow.
Okay, instead of, okay. Yes.
Okay. Councilman Porter.
Yes.
Councilman Gabriel.
Yes.
Councilman Webster.
Yes.
And Mayor Rowe.
Yes.
Right. And then for Kevin Dowd, Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
No.
Councilman Racy.
Yes.
Councilman Porter.
Yes.
Councilman Gabriel.
Yes. Oh, excuse me, no. I got confused.
All right. Thank you.
No.
Councilman Webster.
Yes.
And Mayor Rowe.
No.
And Leonard Fisher. Councilman Miller, or Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Racy.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Yes.
And Councilman Porter.
Yes.
Councilman Gabriel.
Yes.
Councilman Webster.
Yes.
Mayor Rowe.
No.
This is for Michael Wilson. For Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Racy.
No.
Councilman Porter.
No.
Councilman Gabriel.
Yes.
And Councilman Webster.
No.
And Mayor Rowe.
Yes.
Okay, so let me tally those up then, please. Thank you. have a tie. So 2 eliminated are Kevin Dowd and Michael Wilson with 3 votes each. That's leaving Eric Clearman and Leonard Fisher then for the final round.
I got a question.
Okay.
Could we vote no for more than one person?
Pardon?
Could we vote no for more than one person?
You can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
So, okay. So that is eliminating Mr. Dowd and Mr. Wilson from this round. So now we do not need to go to the next round because there are now 2 candidates left because there was a tie and it eliminated it. So then you'll go to the ballot that is there, and you will write down the person you wish to have as to fill the vacancy, and you will sign, and then I will tally those and read those in the roll call vote.
To be clear, this is who we're voting for.
For, yes.
Voting
yes.
for. Take a moment, I'll put these in the roll call order. Okay, in the roll call order, Mayor Pro Tem Miller voted for Mr. Clearman. Councilman Racy voted for Mr. Fisher. Councilman Porter voted for Mr. Fisher. Councilman Gabriel for Mr. Clearman. Councilman Webster for Mr. Fisher. And Mayor Rowe for Mr. Clearman. So that is the tie, 3-3. So again, at this time, you can either state your reasons for how you voted, or you can choose to re-vote and submit them back down to me if you would like.
Okay, does members of council wish to state either for the candidate that they voted for? Okay. I will just state I voted for Mr. Clearman because he has already filed petitions to run for council, and I believe this would give him an opportunity to at least have a little bit of a head start if he was elected in November, and I think that would be important for him. That's my reason. Anyone else?
I'll say mine. I voted for Len Fisher because he did not file for council, and that he is doing it for just this time period, and he's I think it's an unfair advantage to put anybody that's running for council in November on over any other candidate, and I believe that that's why other candidates did not apply, because they didn't want to be in that situation. So I'm supporting Len Fisher because I think he's the right person for the job.
I would just like to state Mr. Fisher has, as everybody knows, ran as a write-in candidate against me 3 years ago. But for this year, We were asked, all the candidates who were applying, to supply a letter as well as a resume. Mr. Fisher just gave us a letter. He did not give us a resume. To me, that speaks volumes. I'm sorry if some people don't agree, but if you can't even follow the initial instructions, that says something to me. It speaks to your attitude and your, I believe, just how you feel you present yourself. Also, after the election, I believe it was just a few years ago, we had asked people to volunteer for different events, and Mr. Fisher had volunteered to be in charge of park cleanups and such. And he did one park cleanup, and that was the last of it. He never was involved in any other situations of, you know, setting up park cleanups and such. And I'm sorry, but there are no comments from the audience, Mr. Fisher. So with that, if you would all fill out your applications, your voting ballot for who you wish to vote for.
How many times do we do this?
We have in the roll call order vote, Mayor Pro Tem Miller, Clearman, Racy, Fisher, Porter, Fisher, Gabriel, Clearman, Webster, Fisher, and Rowe, Clearman. It is still a tie vote with the same votes cast. So there's an apparent...
And just for clarification, we continue voting until a stalemate is broken. Yes. So you can actively have discussion between each vote should you so choose, but we vote until the tie is broken. So,
okay, change my mind.
I'm good. I don't have anywhere to go in the morning.
I'm sorry, what?
Well, maybe take the opportunity to
yes,
the mayor.
Address the other members as to why we should vote for Mr. Fisher.
We could move the agenda and do the next item and come back to it. I just know it has to be it has to be done yeah. Tonight. So
I got a couple questions. If we don't come up with a solution, then it goes to the governor, correct?
Your policies and procedures, we vote until the stalemate's been broken. So we're following your policies and procedures. So that question has not been addressed because when we decided on how to do this, it was the policies and procedures that we're going to follow. So I think the first question is what happens when council doesn't follow their own policies and procedures? And then the next question would be, in the event that council chose not to follow their own policy and procedure, how would it fall?
Okay, and then my second question is when we did this the last time, each person, we only had one no vote, and this time we had 2 no votes by one person. And that's not the same way that we voted before. So where does that fall? Because I don't believe that was, I was believing that I only had 1 no vote, and I can only pick 1 person based on what I was told in the past, and that's not the rules that we played by.
Not too confident that would change the outcome because the first no vote.
I'm not just just saying that's the way that this went down.
You could only vote no 1 time.
Correct. That's what I was saying earlier.
I voted no twice.
Mayor voted no twice.
We did a round.
Yes.
Like, you started with Mayor Pro Tem, you read all 4 names. They voted yes,
So I went the
yes,
opposite.
no, yes. So we need to.
Would you like to do another round then? I mean, I'm open to that. I don't.
All 4.
I think
Just
reading
redo this whole
7.6,
process.
if you want to read 7.6 into the record from the policy and procedure.
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
so under
Thank you.
7.6 it said, voting will take place.
Please. Like to have a conversation, would you take it out into the hallway? Thank you.
Okay, so under 7.6 it does say, voting shall take place at a special or regularly scheduled council meeting. Voting will occur on a round-robin basis by a roll call vote, with each member voting on the total number of candidates minus 1. After each round, the city clerk shall tally the votes. The candidate with the least number of votes will be eliminated in that round. The aforementioned process will continue until 2 candidates remain. When 2 candidates remain from the round-robin voting, each council member shall vote in writing, and those results shall be read aloud by roll call sequence by the city clerk, indicating which member cast the vote. So I do think that there is, you should vote for the total number of candidates minus 1. So when we go through the roll call vote, instead of going by the candidate, it should go
by the person
voting, and they should state who their 3 affirmative votes are.
Okay.
Instead of going across or down.
All right.
So based on how we voted, the only person that should be eliminated is Wilson.
Well, I think the voting needs to reoccur
Okay.
in accordance with the policy and procedures, but I do think it's accurate that in the event of a tie, 2 people are eliminated. Because I think there have been, this is an instance that we talked about at the time the policy and procedure was done. So it should go, you know, Councilman Gabriel, and Councilman Gabriel should vote his 3 yeses and his 1 no, instead of going around on each particular candidate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then we'll flip to the other way then. Is that what the wish of council is?
It is.
Is that fine
Okay.
with everyone up here? Okay.
Okay. And we'll go that way. I apologize. So, just stopped me earlier. Somebody. Okay. So we're going to go down the candidates then. You can only vote no for 1. So this is Miller. Mayor Pro Tem Miller, how do you vote for Mr. Clearman?
Yes.
Mr. Dowd?
No.
Mr. Fisher?
Let me just, before I cast that one, I only can cast 1 no here.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
yes.
Okay. And Mr. Wilson?
Please.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Racy, Mr. Clearman?
Yes.
Kevin Dowd?
Yes.
Leonard Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
No.
Councilman Porter, Mr. Clearman?
Yes.
Mr. Dowd?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
No.
Councilman Gabriel, Mr. Clearman?
Yes.
Mr. Dowd?
No.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Councilman Webster, Mr. Clearman?
Yes.
Mr. Dowd?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
No.
Mayor Rowe, Mr. Clearman?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Dowd?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
No.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 3. So Mr. Wilson is eliminated. So there are 7 votes for Mr. Dowd, 5 votes for Miss. No, I'm sorry. 7 votes for Mr. Clearman.
No, there's going to only be 6. There's only 6 people.
Oh, sorry. I can't get over having 7 people here. I apologize.
Might be a while before we do see one in the way it's
At this point, so I'm used to 7. Okay, I apologize again. And then we have total votes for Mr. Dowd, 4 yes and 2 no. That's 4 affirmative And then for Mr. Fisher, there are five affirmative, 1 no, and then final is Mr. Wilson, 3 and 3. So Mr. Wilson is eliminated this round. Okay. And we'll go to the next round. Now there are 3 candidates left. Mr. Wilson has been eliminated. First to vote is Mayor Pro Tem Miller. Mr. Clearman.
Yes.
Mr. Dowd.
No.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Racy, Mr. Clearman.
No.
Mr. Dowd.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Porter, Mr. Clearman.
No.
Mr. Dowd.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Gabriel. Mr. Clearman.
Yes.
Mr. Dowd.
No.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Webster. Mr. Clearman.
No.
Mr. Dowd.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
Mayor Rowe. Mr. Clearman.
Yes.
Mr. Dowd.
Yes.
And Mr. Fisher.
No.
So this way we have a total of 3 yeses and 3 noes for Mr. Clearman. We have a total of 4 yeses and 2 noes for Mr. Dowd. And then the final is for Mr. Fisher. There is 5 affirmative and 1 no. So with this one, Mr. Clearman has the most no votes. He is eliminated in this round. So this leaves now Mr. Dowd and Mr. Fisher. Okay.
It's going to be written,
Okay. You can, if you have a ballot left, you can utilize that between Mr. Dowd and Mr. Fisher. Do you have a ballot?
I had 1 left.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even look.
Okay. The first to vote on the roll call order is Mayor Pro Tem Miller for Mr. Fisher. Next is Councilman Racy for Mr. Dowd. Councilman Porter for Mr. Dowd. Councilman Gabriel for Mr. Dowd. Councilman Webster for Mr. Dowd. And Mayor Rowe for Mr. Dowd. So that is 5-1. Mr. Dowd. will be filling the vacancy. All right. All right. We'll contact him tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's confusing.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Say the least.
Okay, so we'll move the agenda. This is item 7H. This is to approve a professional service agreement for the city attorney and city labor attorney's recommendation regarding personnel matters.
Move to approve.
Support.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem Miller and supported by Councilman Gabriel. Questions or discussion? Yes.
Why?
Yes, Miss.
Do you want to come to the mic and ask that question? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I won't make you walk to the mic. Okay.
The city attorney will answer that question.
So the city has received allegations of a hostile work environment within the city. As an employer, the city is obligated to investigate those claims. Accordingly, it's the recommendation of both myself and Gary King, our labor counsel, that we hire a third party to investigate the allegations, and that's the purpose of this professional service agreement.
Yes, Mr. Brookfitch.
How much is this going to cost?
The hourly rate, I'm sorry, thank you. So the hourly rate for this particular attorney is $250 an hour. The amount of money that is going to be spent, at this time, one cannot predict that. It depends on how many interviews the individual has to undertake in investigating these allegations.
Why this attorney then? Was it chopped around or did you just pick someone?
I had a number of firms that were referred to me by putting a word out into the marketplace for names. I asked that Gary King's firm interview the candidates because, as you know, Gary King has been the city's labor and personnel attorney for 15, 20 years or more, and being that this is Gary's expertise, the personnel and labor, I asked that he interview candidates. So we had 3 candidates that were interviewed based on recommendations, and after we filtered out candidates that did not have conflicts. So anytime something like this is undertaken, we have to make sure that they don't know anybody in the city personally and hasn't worked with anybody in the city before. So after performing a conflict check, it was narrowed down to the 3 candidates that were interviewed by Gary King. Gary King made a recommendation to me. I then interviewed the one candidate that I'm recommending, and I distributed privileged confidential memo to council directly with regard to the candidate and qualifications and my recommendation. But obviously a vote has to occur in public, so that's why we're doing that in public.
Was this the least expensive, most expensive, or in the middle of the 3?
His actual normal hourly rate is $385 an hour in private practice. What you will find is most attorneys with 37 plus years experience can charge $350 to $425 an hour. So his normal hourly rate is $385. I asked him for a municipal discount, and I was able to get him down to the $250 range. He is the gentleman with the most experience of the 3, and he was willing to give that discount. So from our perspective, I did the best I could in getting that municipal rate.
Out of the 3, was he the most expensive, the least expensive, or the middle? That was my question.
And my answer to you was he is $250 in municipal rate. So the $250 municipal rate is the least expensive of the 3.
Okay, you didn't state that. You just said that he gave a discount.
I only asked for a municipal discount from him once we decided who the most qualified candidate was. All of the other hourly rates were more than $250 an hour.
But you didn't ask them for municipal discounts, is what you're stating.
Only on the one that was the most qualified.
I don't think this is the best choice. Thank you.
Yes.
More than just a why.
All right.
Is this a litigation situation that we're in? And are we going to have to pay individuals who work in the city their attorney fees also to provide proper attorneys or litigation for them, so we have to pay both sides?
I would ask the city attorney to answer.
Sure. So no one has filed a lawsuit yet, as of yet. So it's not an active litigation matter. It is considered a risk management matter, so it would be paid for from a risk management budget. And with regard to other attorneys, no, we don't pay other attorney fees unless a court orders us to. So if anyone else chooses to have a private attorney involved, they would be responsible for those costs.
And when it gets to the point of being frivolous, do we go after recuperation?
No, in a lawsuit, if it's determined that it's a frivolous lawsuit, we can ask for reimbursement from a judge that he ordered that it was frivolous in nature, and therefore we are entitled to attorney fees. But pre-lawsuit, we are not entitled to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. Let the record show there were 2 noes.
Okay. There are 4 votes affirmative.
Yeah.
Okay. The next item is item 8, administration reports.
Yes.
Okay.
I will try to go through these as quickly as possible. I just have a few. I wanted to just say volunteers, just let the council, volunteers have been out sprucing up the city from Gowdy Park to the trails and gardens. You know, obviously their help is most appreciated and it's not going unnoticed. I do want to thank, you know, the Garden Club and the Wayne Bicycle Club for teaming up at both the Clock Tower and Gowdy Park and other trails as well. And they also put flags out, the bike club, I believe, for Memorial Day to honor our fallen soldiers. So I just want to thank them. And I just want to also say that to follow up with that, what has been good about this is they've been coordinating with the DPW, which is very, very important because we don't want bags of rubbish or anything like that laying out in the streets for a period of time. So I just want to encourage anybody, if you want to volunteer, just coordinate with the DPW. If you want to have a cleanup, we just want to make sure that those bags aren't dumped or, you know, we have a bigger mess than we had when we started. So I just want to thank all the volunteers. There have been a lot of complaints, I'm going to say a lot of complaints about Michigan Avenue medians not looking as good as they have in the past. The DPW, under the direction of Ed Queen, they do pay attention to this. They drive through the city all the time to make sure this is being done. But unfortunately, we have had a revolving door of companies coming in to mow, and they are becoming sparse, unfortunately. And so you get what you pay for, unfortunately. And with our budget, I mean, we're doing the best that we can. But, you know, Ed did want the council to know and the residents that they are paying attention and they are working very hard to address these issues with the contractor. So we'll keep an eye on that. I am excited to announce the community development directors receive offers and deposits on several of our city-owned lots. These will be on the next agenda for consideration, so that's positive. Get those on the tax rolls. I also want to thank the planning team, Matt Miller, Mike Byton, Lori Gowan, Chief Maciag, Ed Queen, Jeremy Schneider, the rest. You know, they've been incredibly busy over the last, you know, I mean, forever, but I mean, really, really busy with plans and new developments and, you know, balancing everything else that they've had. They've done an incredible job, and I've heard nothing but good about the entire team and all the progress that we're making and the friendliness of the staff. So I just wanted to say thank you to them. And then lastly, there was a question at the last meeting. I did discuss this with the city attorney. She's going to answer, Mayor, if that's okay. Mr. Blackwell had asked a question about his FOIA concern at the last meeting, so I'm going to give it to Brita.
So if I understood properly, Mr. Blackwell was concerned about his FOIA requests being distributed by the FOIA coordinator. So just so everyone's aware, the policy here at City Hall is when the city receives a FOIA request, your FOIA request can be submitted in many forms. It can be submitted via email. It can be submitted by coming to the counter and filling out a form. It could be really submitted by anything that appears to be a written FOIA request we have to honor. So when we receive a written FOIA request, that request is forwarded to the FOIA coordinator, which is Carrie Venus, and it also can be someone else in her absence at the city manager's designee, according to our FOIA policy. We receive a written request, and what Carrie's job is to do is she's to scan that FOIA request, and she is to distribute it to the appropriate personnel or department heads or employees in the city that have responsive material. So, if you ask for information from finance about the taxes and things of that nature, it's going to get forwarded to finance. If you ask for any and all city records or communication concerning 123 Main Street, that email is going to go to anyone in the city that might have information on 123 Main Street. So if Carrie receives a responsive request that says, I want email correspondence between all of City Council or between Matt Miller and, you know, Wendy in the Water Department, then that FOIA request is going to go to the people that are named in the request. So in this particular instance, I believe when Carrie received Mr. Blackwell's FOIA request, she sent it out to whom she considered to be the appropriate departments that would have responsive documents. Because people are responsible. Carrie doesn't have the time to go around to each department and check their records. The idea is each department, each employee has the best access to their records and can access the records in the most efficient manner instead of someone else poking around in their stuff. So Carrie's job is to send it out to the appropriate personnel that would have responsive documents. So Carrie, in the instance I think that Mr. Blackwell was speaking about, forwarded it to the appropriate department heads along with City Council members. And on that document, I think Mr. Blackwell's complaint was the fact that his cell phone number was on the document. So the city has a right to share the unredacted FOIA request with city personnel, employees, and people who may have responsive information. If a third party, such as, you know, Joe over on Chestnut Street, were to come FOIA Mr. Blackwell's FOIA request, which can be done, then I or someone can redact Mr. Blackwell's FOIA request. But the information from the FOIA request is not redacted before it's sent to internal employees or personnel of the city. And there's not a requirement that we do so. So if anyone has a complaint about an internal employee leaking something such as a cell phone number or misusing it or using it inappropriately, I think it would be necessary to make a complaint at City Hall about that person. But my understanding is that Mr. Blackwell's request was forwarded by the FOIA coordinator to all appropriate personnel within the city in order to gather the responsive documents. And that's all I can speak to with regard to Ms. Venus's actions, and that she was correct in doing that. She was correct in receiving the request, determining who would have potentially responsive documents, and sending the request to those individuals. So if there's an allegation that who she sent it to mishandled the information, then we would certainly be willing to take that type of complaint. But from everything that I was able to review relative to our FOIA coordinator's actions, that she acted appropriately in accordance with our FOIA policy.
Mayor, I'd like to add that there will be no disciplinary action on that based on the attorney's review.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Rita. That'll conclude my report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The next item.
We will wait till the citizens' comments come up. Okay, that's next, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Blackwell?
This is under the administration. I understand about the information being shared internally. Again, like I said, somehow or another, the information was, I'm guessing it was leaked because it made it down to Florida to someone. And with in regards to my FOIA, I did receive a letter from Mrs. Venus, the FOIA coordinator, and I understand, I don't know if she was on vacation or took some time off or something, but the letter that she sent me is dated May 10th. And this, I don't understand, because I know the city hall has a postage machine, I guess that's what you would call it, okay? The letter's dated May 10th. And then I'm not going to go through the whole jargon about the letter, but it says, if you would like to continue this process, please contact me at, it gives her phone number here and her email here, no later than May 15th. Well, I received the letter on May 16th, so there wasn't no way I could respond by the 15th, and I did email her. What I don't understand is, maybe, I don't know whom it is that is in charge of running the postage machine, but the date on the stamp is May 10th. Like I said, I got it on the 16th. So I don't know if somebody left it laying around. It's like, oh, well, we forgot to mail it. So there's just too much things going around, and I won't further comment on that because I am in the process of consulting with legal counsel, and I'm sure the attorney that I'm dealing with will be getting a hold of Mrs. I guess Mrs. O'Leary if
Okay.
some questions came up.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Blackwell. Anyone else?
Hello, how y'all doing?
Fine, how are you, Judy?
I'm Judy Pullins. I live at Newberry Square Apartments. This is just a suggestion to y'all. You have every type of person mentioned, you know, a month this, a month that. Well, what about the Native Americans that live in Wayne? You don't have a day for them?
I don't know. Is there a national holiday as such?
No. You know, I was just saying it would be nice. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is the attack that happened on the trail behind Wayne Towers. This woman was attacked, knocked off of her bike, her backpack and everything got stolen. The police were called, but, you know, he was long gone by then. My comment is, you know, why bother to have a park that you can't even go in because the criminal element's in there? I mean, that's not fair to us. I enjoy being out in the woods. Oh, hush. Okay, thank you. That was my comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Judy. Yeah, anyone else? Yes. Yes, we're under citizens' comments.
All right, thank you. I wasn't sure because the whole part of the agenda wasn't written, so it was written, it wasn't spoken. I guess my concern is that during the, I know it was on the agenda, but we couldn't comment, the vote for council. I'm glad that they they did it the correct way, because when I was watching, I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't how we did it the last time. We had about 15 people. We did all but one. And I figured there was an part of the charter, but I didn't want to say anything. But my main concern was that calling out and negative comment against one of the candidates, I think that was very rude. It's your right to say it, but it's also our right to think it's rude. And he wanted to respond. You didn't even give him a chance to. You just wanted to shut him down. I think that was very rude, and I'm glad you're not running for mayor again.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovich. I appreciate it. Yes, Mr. Blackwell.
Who is the enforcing authority for any contracts or leases that we have? I'm talking specifically, recently our tenant, Hype, if you've driven by a few days ago, the grass was really high. It reminded me of wavering fields of grain driving up north. One of the Facebook pages, Wayne Neighborhood Vent, somebody said, well, maybe somebody should go out and measure it. I did. I took a metal yardstick, and in spots it was either anywhere from 26 to 28 inches high. That's over 3 times the legal limit pursuant to ordinance, which I believe is 6 inches. I did take a drive out to the Hype location in Dearborn. You drive out there, manicured lawn, manicured shrubs, no weeds growing anywhere, look great. Drive up to our property, there's scrub trees growing around the tennis courts, vines, the grass, it was just horrendous looking. And what was really embarrassing, as I was out there measuring the grass by the sidewalk, and as you know, you have employees from Beaumont and Annapolis out walking, had 2 physicians come and introduce themselves. They asked me, oh, what's going on? How come they don't cut the grass? I was like, well, you find out, you tell me. It's really embarrassing, not only to my neighborhood, but to my community. I did go up there after a woman had posted, hey, they just cut the grass. Went up there, there was 2 gentlemen, employees riding a golf cart, spraying the weeds, and I said, you know, thank you for giving this your attention, you know, but you will be addressing the tennis courts and stuff. And they said, yes, sir, I'm personally handling this. I get back home, stop at a neighbor's home, a red pickup or a black pickup pulls up. The guy starts yelling and stuff. Well, I asked him, I said, who are you? He said, Ali. I said, Ali who? He goes, Syed. Then he goes off on a rant, tells me he better not catch my blankety blank body part back up on his property. I said, sir, thank you. The council and mayor will be made aware of this. Goodbye. So he kept persisting, let it go. I ended up having to call the police. Another thing I wanted to bring up too, recently the Michigan State House of Representatives has...
This is the 3-minute mark. Please end your comments, Mr. Blackwell.
I'm in the home stretch, Mr. Miller. We can vote on that. There was legislation recently introduced in the State House, House Bill 6093. I bring that up tonight because according to the legislation that was introduced, it would require voter approval for the sale of city land. And I wanted to know, the city attorney could answer this, Mayor, to your discretion. If passed, how would this affect those city properties or land currently listed with Colliers, or is that sort of, to use the term, grandfathered in because those properties were listed and this legislation hasn't passed as of yet because it still needs to go to the Senate and be voted on?
Okay, thank you. We will have the administration look into that. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Yes, Mr. Fisher.
First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to interview before this council, and thank you, Mayor Rowe, for that interesting version of history. What I wanted to talk about was recycling. Personally, I'm only available on Tuesday and Thursday to take my recycles, and we have the limited time of 7 to 3. It invariably, almost every time, I hit it just when there's they're changing out the dumpsters. And my question is, this is a company that works for the city of Wayne. This is a company that we pay thousands of dollars to, and yet I've been told that we have to work around their schedule. It seems to me that we should be able to tell them, hey, come after hours and pick up those things so residents aren't convenienced. We only have 40 hours to recycle out of 168 hours during a week, and 10% of that time is wasted with the dumpsters being gone, and you can't do anything. I was told by Ed, and I said I would mention it tonight, that we are allowed to combine into the dumpster that's left there and mix plastics and papers. And I had a problem with that. I went, oh no, I can't do that. But Ed said we could do it. I'm going to do it. But then again, you go there and one dumpster's left and it's packed full. Mm-hmm. For those of us who want to be responsible and recycle, it's a hardship. And I'm thinking, why can't we tell Republic, hey, come after hours or way early in the morning or right at 3 o'clock so we can we won't be missing the dumpsters.
Okay. We will have them discuss it with our waste haulers. Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay.
The next item are citizens' comments from members of the city council.
No.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to go home. I apologize. 9 is items for the next agenda.
Any items for the next agenda?
I do.
Yes.
I would like for us to put Cadillac Apartments on the agenda and have a discussion as the council to see what we can do. This has been going on for long enough. I've talked to some people. It doesn't sound like they're looking to really do anything over there. It's very, very slow. And see what our remedies are. I mean, I know that we're working on stuff, but enough's enough. It's an eyesore, and it's a hazard to our residents, and it needs to be taken care of. And it's way past time, and I'd like to see that on the agenda.
Okay, it can be on the agenda, but I will let you know this is one of the topics that I am continually speaking with our community development director about, and she is doing everything that she can right now legally to get us to be able to get that building torn down.
I understand. And I just want to know if there's anything the council can do, what we can do to move things forward.
Okay. All right. We will have a report from her then. Okay. Anything else? No? Next item, consent calendar.
Consent calendar. Yes, there are 2 items before you.
Motion without exception.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Porter, supported by Councilman Racy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Comments from members of the City Council. I will start with Councilman Porter.
Thank you, Mayor. I spoke to Lenny Powell right before coming to the meeting, and he wanted me to mention that the fundraiser for the mother and son that lost their lives on Belleville Road and Ecorse Road, they raised $2,300 for them. They did that at US 12 the other day. So I want to personally thank Lenny and US 12 family for kicking in and helping out with that. City manager already thanked the Bicycle Club for helping with the garden, and the Garden Club for helping clean everything up at the clock and here in Gowdy. So I want to add my thanks to that. That's all.
Okay. Councilman Webster.
Thank you. Let me keep it brief tonight. I just want to thank the fire department for putting on a great event on Saturday. For those that were able to come out, they had a bounce house, tattoos, balloon animals, lots of great food. So it's always good to get out and support our emergency personnel. So anytime you know this is going on, make sure you make it a point to go out and support them. Thank you for everyone that came out tonight to sit up here and interview with us. It's not an easy thing to do. It's nerve-wracking to have these people looking at you and asking you these questions. And I remember from my experience just kind of my mind going blank and trying to think of the best way. So, you know, regardless whether you're the first one eliminated or the last one, you know, thank you for coming up and stepping up and taking a chance.
Mr. Racy, Councilman Racy.
Thank you, Mayor. I too got to attend the fire event. It was a nice event. I think it was their second one. They do a really good job with it. Look forward to seeing more of that kind of stuff in the future. You guys did great. I also got a chance to attend graduation for Wayne Memorial, and congratulations to our class of 2018. It was great to see a person I went to school with as the distinguished alumni, Antoine McKay, who's in some different TV shows. Empire's the most known one, but he came back and was their distinguished alumni. And it was great to see him and catch up a little bit and have him there for that. Also wanted to mention on the north side of our library where there's a garden, the grass is probably about 2 feet tall over there. I'm not sure what's going on with that, if it's the city or if it's the bank, but just if we could take a look at that to get that taken care of, because it's you can't even see the gardens currently, and it's way past how long grass should be. And then I also wanted to mention we had the bike club and the garden club do all the bunch of things that they did through town that was mentioned, but also the bike club and the some Rotarians went around and they took the suckers off the side of the trees downtown, and it really cleans that up and makes it look a lot better, and I wanted to thank them for doing that. And then also in Rotary Park 2, Hoover was over there. They did they're putting in a trying to think of what it's called. A rain garden. Yep, that's what it is. And they got rocks with Wayne Rocks helped paint stuff over there, and our DPW helped assist. And it's the same teachers from the 4th grade that normally do the tree thing, and they added that this year with a grant, and it came out really good. The kids had a great time, and they planted a bunch of plants over there, and they finished up that today. So thank you to them.
Councilman Gabriel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also would like to echo the thanks and appreciation for those that came out this evening, and congratulations to Mr. Dowd. I look forward to having you as an addition. I also want to talk about the sidewalks and road repair, because I'm starting to see a lot of it start to move forward, which is really good and refreshing to see as well. I think it's one of the things helping contribute to the housing movement we're starting to see too in the city, and it's very positive. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. And I'll also echo what Councilman Gabriel spoke about regarding the candidates this evening. But also, I had the opportunity to be at the ribbon cutting for the Derby's Alley, and it was another great little investment in our downtown. And what was interesting was that there was the Realty Association there, and it really made me think about that for a minute. thinking that these folks are selling our homes or are bringing in prospective new residents into our community. They're also selling our community. And it's places like the Derby's Alley investment we're making in sprucing up something here or doing something over there. And that's what home ownership is all about. And that's why I raised that up in the month of June here. It's our biggest investment in our community. And it's just, you know, these realty folks go out there, they're just not selling your home. They're selling this community. So I thought that was important to bring up. It was great to see them at that event. And with that, I will say that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Just like to remind everyone, the newest edition of Kaboom is out. It has some very good information in there about different events that are happening for travel with the Sometime Travelers group. And then also there's items on here regarding the Wayne Police Department. They are still looking for crossing guards. Even though we're at the end of the school year, they're still looking for crossing guards. So please, that is a paid position. And also the Senior Alliance is looking for part-time drivers. So if you do have a good driving record and you want a part-time job, that is also a paid position. Please contact the Senior Alliance, and the information is on the back of the brochure Kaboom. With that, a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Have a good night.